Hello, another High Tide Imbibe. I have something kind of interesting this time out. Not necessarily that the beer is super interesting, but there's a little bit of history here, a little bit of maritime beer history with this one, in a way. So, what I'm looking at is a beer that once existed under another brewery, but now exists under the Annapolis Brewing Company. They've basically taken the recipe and kept it alive. It is the Boxcutter IPA. Now, you'll notice the designs on the can, there is no reference to Annapolis Brewing Company other than the fact that brewed by Annapolis Brewing Company. But you will see, maybe you'll see it there, maybe it'll focus in. Probably won't focus, but Bad Apple Brew House, formerly out of Somerset, Nova Scotia, which was it's just like a small little, I don't even know what you call it, like a hamlet maybe, right outside of Berwick, which itself is just like a tiny fucking village. Um, but yeah, Bad Apple Brew House. I have fond memories of their beers. I think this might have been their first beer they did, if I'm not mistaken. So that's kind of why this is the one that still exists, and it's also like one of their less complicated ones because they weren't doing all kinds of barrel aging, and it's not a big imperial stout or whatever kind of thing. Because they had a couple of those as well initially when they started. Um, I remember taking Guy, beer guy reviews, um, and his cousin Pascal to Bad Apple when they came down to visit years back, and they both enjoyed themselves there, picking up some fine brews, and they made really good beers, but they went out of business. Now, not exactly sure why. I've heard rumors. You know, the most obvious one people will go to is, oh, COVID hit and it killed people's business and, that kind of thing, right? Um, I've heard rumors of some other things that might have happened, and I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to lend credence to those rumors. Just the business eventually went under, or was at the very least shut down. And the cool thing is, one of their beers still exists technically. So it's still around, just being made by Annapolis now. you're just a you're just a stack of pills that hasn't been washed in a while. This is a reference to a comment I made on another stream, or is that a different Dan? No, I was talking about you, but I'm just saying, game recognizes game, sir. Hey, Dan. Um, but yeah, so 6.9% alcohol by volume. So this was a big boy even when it started, and it's basically retained all the can design. The only difference is it says Annapolis Brewing Company now, brewed by Annapolis Brewing Company, but everything else is the same as it used to be. And yeah, Boxcutter, Bad Apple Brew House Boxcutter, so I'd say West Coast ish IPA is kind of what they went for here with this one, and definitely not a New England style or anything like that. So let's see how Annapolis Brewing Company did. So I never got to review this on my channel as far as I can recall, and as far as I can tell doing research tonight. I never got to review this one. So it kind of fell within the window of when I finished Hoagley beer reviews and before I started up High Tide Imbibe. It was Indian SLC for a while, and then Bad Apple went under. And by the time they went under, I had not gotten around to getting a can of this. So there you go. Look at that. Looks good. Looks a little darker. Looks straight up copper, right, on the camera. It's more of a very light copper, amber color, however you want to put it. Looks very nice. Nice little head going on there. Nothing spectacular, but it looks decent. So let's go right to the aroma. Oh yeah, okay. Mm. So I wouldn't say dank necessarily, but it's approaching dank. It's got a more West Coast influence style to it. It's got a pretty pronounced grapefruit, pretty pronounced pine mixing in under there. Um, Kind of like weird berryish hints, like almost like strawberry kind of in there somewhere. Depending, I think it might depend on what hops you use. There's that I can't think of the fucking name of it, but there's a hop that is straight up like smells like strawberries. That might be very well be in here. Um, but yeah, I wish I actually had like a rundown of what the actual grain bill and hop bill and all this shit was. It'd be interesting to pick this one apart. But yeah, it smells very good. Just smells like West Coast adjacent kind of IPA, like West Coast, but we put our little bit of flair into it, kind of thing. Take it back to the East Coast and show them how IPAs are actually done. So cheers, regard to the taste. Mm. Dan saying, would the website not have the grains and malts? No, um, they don't list it. Honestly, as far as I can tell, it's mostly a rarity. When maybe it's just an East Coast thing. I don't know. Are the websites of the breweries you frequent over on the other side of the world, or Canada at the very least, do their websites do better at that? Because definitely we could definitely do better over here as far as that goes. Does that sucks? Yeah. I mean, they have no real legal obligation to list that shit. So, honestly, I wish they did have a legal obligation to like list their entire grain and hop bills, but at the same time, then they'd argue, well, then other people are going to copy our beer, and so there's a gray area there, I guess. Um, this is pretty much how I remember it. Um, so the grapefruit's still there. It comes out in the finish. There's, and it's not puckering or anything like that either. It's a decent bitterness. It's fairly mild for what you might expect, given it's like 7% IPA. It's approaching imperial. It's not quite there. Um, it's just a decent bitterness. Nothing super aggressive. Um, Lingers a little bit, teeny bit, but it's more the grapefruit flavor than the actual bitterness that kind of lingers. Um, the big note is like the little bit of berries that I was actually getting in the aroma come out in the taste a lot more. So there's a straight up strong strawberry note in this. Um, they've done a really good job of recreating Boxcutter from what I remember, and it's been a few years since I've had it from Bad Apple. And Dan says a good portion of the websites over there do actually list the grain bills and the hop bills and everything. So yeah, that's cool. He says you think there would be other beers already out there that are the same, but it's all about water and where you get the grain and hops that can change the flavor. Indeed, the terroir, if you want to use the fancy wine terminology. But yeah, the more you drink it, the bitterness sort of piles up a little bit, and then you can let it settle down. It's not super complex. Malty on the malty side of things, it's a little less West Coast because the malt is a lot less apparent in it. Usually you'll get like you get the dank hops, so you'll get the like strong hoppy flavors, but you'll get like a good malt balance in there somewhere, like good caramel note or something like that. Not really here. The malt is very out of the pitcher for the most part. There's a little bit of graininess, not a lot. Body is like upper light bodied, so it's a pretty smooth drinker. Like it's an incredibly dangerous 7% beer because the alcohol is just not there. It's nowhere to be seen. It's just a simple, nice twist on the West Coast kind of beer, kind of IPA, and it's got that unique like berry note, that strawberry note in it that really carries the flavor. Um, it's just a nice, refreshing beer. It's what I remember it to be. So, like Annapolis Valley Brewing Company, Annapolis Brewing. Not Annapolis Valley, just Annapolis Brewing. Um, they they kept it alive. It's basically the same beer. Oh boy. Radar here saying Annapolis is a monotypic genius of North American dwarf spiders containing the single species Annapolis mossy. First described by Alfred Frank Mildage in 1984, has only been found in the United States. Well, good to know. Good to know. Hope you're having a good night, Radar. You as well, Dan. This is really good. It's just an easy drinking IPA with a little bit more alcohol in it that you don't taste. So, like I said, again, dangerous because you could have several of these and just like forget that you had several 7% beers and then try to stand up and you're fucked. Um, Nothing more to say. Not super complex or anything like that. Just really good. And it is cool that they kept this alive because Bad Apple Brewing was a really good brewery. And short lived, unfortunately, but at least this lives on. That's really cool of Annapolis Brewing Company to do that. And at the very least, I wish the people who worked at Bad Apple success in whatever they're doing now. I think the head brewer is like in truck driving or something. He's like a truck driver or something now. Like he's doing something else, as far as I know. So good luck to them. Uh, you got to live the turned the hobby into the dream for a few years and was pretty successful at it and won some awards and stuff like that. It's just whatever. Businesses fail every once in a while. Most restaurants fail within like a year or so of being opened. Like so, they did better than most. Um, as an IPA, I'm gonna give it an 8. It's really good. As my own personal preference for beer, um, yeah, I'm gonna get an 8 too as well. If this ends up going back into single cans or 4 packs or something on the shelf, I'd definitely pick it up again. It was always one I looked forward to whenever I went to Bad Apple. So, and when it did start showing up on the NSLC shelves for a little while, still under Bad Apple, I was picking it up for a little while there, and it'd be nice to have it back. There's so many brands that have died over the years, and yeah, it's always nice when one comes back and it's as good as it used to be. So there we go. And we got a radar here in Beernomicon lore. Annapolis was the site of the Battle of Annapolis, where us Beernama gods stopped Tom Cruise from destroying the Beernama Grail. Yeah, I can see that happening. I can definitely see that happening. Um, but cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm going to kick out of here, and I'll be back when I'm back. Goodbye.